Darius Nightblade stood overlooking the base camp they had established. There'd been no sign of others in the area for quite some time, so it seemed to be the perfect launching point for raids into the area. Today, however, he had other things on his mind than profit. He walked over to the area Branwen Everbleed had set up for her coven. He did not care for her or her witches, but knew that they had their uses, and today they would prove useful to him. Branwen had watched his approach with her normal contempt, but if he came over to her, it must be something important, so she moved to meet him. "Master Darius, what do I owe the pleasure of your company today?" the hag said in her condescending voice. "I need you to accompany me on a particular mission. I have made a bargain with one of the human shadow mages. He requires cold one eggs for some ritual he is planning to perform, and in return he will train one of our witches in the lore of shadow. The walking lizards have an encampment just over the rise, a few miles from here. They possess the eggs I seek. I need you and your kind to provide a distraction while we acquire those eggs. I know of your witch's fondness for lizard blood, so I thought this mission might be to your liking." "Once again you have pleased us, Master Darius. Hope for your sake one day that we don't find you displeasing." "We shall be ready when you call for us," Branwen said, and turned and walked away, not waiting for dismissal. Darius shook his head and continued on through the rest of the encampment. They needed to be ready by dawn to catch the Lizardmen off guard. So we've got a pretty standard game here. The one thing to pay attention is there are two missions going on. The tower in the bottom right corner of the board is the tower that contains the cold one eggs. Skip, to win his mission, has to have a unit in that building at the end of the game. If he does, he gets the cold one eggs, and will unlock the lore of Shadow for the Dark Elves. On the hill on the upper right is a dwarven statue of Valia. On top of that hill, I have to have a unit there and have them spend a turn breaking the statue open to recover a mystic amulet out of it to unlock Soul of Stone for my Salon. Other than that, it's a pretty standard mission, so let's go ahead and get into deployment. So the Dark Elves start with a group of 20 witches on the corner. Branwen Everbleed, his witch hero, is his BSB in that unit. Then there's a unit of 20 Dread Spears with Darius, who is his hero, serving as a general. I don't know if it's a Dark Lord. I don't know the Dark Elves that well, or at least their names. Then next to that is a unit of 15 Dark Shards, and a unit of 5 Brolocks. So the Brolocks are actually going to be representing his only magic in this army, but at least he's using a Battle Standard Bearer again, so this is the first time all campaign that Skip has used a Battle Standard Bearer, so we'll go ahead and see how well that works for him. And now Skip had been complaining about my big Saurus block, so I decided not to bring any Saurus here to see if he likes this better. So on the far side there, I have a unit of 10 Skink Skirmishers with blowguns. With them is my General Gorokoth. Then I've got 16 Skink Skirmishers with javelins and shields. With them is my BSB Kubonai. Then I have a Salamander. Then a unit of 10 more Skink Skirmishers with Mapikaju, my level 2 mage to Heavens. Then another Salamander who is in the water, which turned out to be a River of Light. And then on the end I have a normal Stag with the Giant Bow and the Sharpened Horns upgrade. I also have a Chameleon Skink unit that, because of how he deployed, I was able to drop right on my mission target, but I forgot to take a picture of him. So we do Vanguards first. The only thing he's got is the Doomfires that Vanguard up. I think because the Stag is such an obvious target, it definitely seems to have captured his attention, and he's heading right for it. So turn 1 goes to the Dark Elves, and first movement, the Brolocks just shoot right around the back of the Stegodon and are going to try and cause some magical havoc against him. Then he moves up his dark shards a little bit, so that he can get in better range of most of the stuff I have over here. So during his magic phase, he gets off Soul Blight on the Stegodon. I'm not really concerned about that, because it still is going to leave him with a high enough toughness where he's going to need 6s to wound. I do stop the other one, the Magic Missile Doomfire. I don't even remember what it's called, but I stop that. Then he goes into shooting, and the Quarrelers manage to put a single wound on the Stegodon, which I'm reasonably okay with. So we go into my turn, and first thing I do is Gorokoth takes his little unit of skinks around here, touches the river, and gets banishment, and all the skinks die. So Gorokoth is easily able to not panic and run off, but he is by himself, and I've lost a unit of skinks. Literally my first move of the game, which is not good. Up at the top, my chameleon skinks take the turn to break the dwarf statue, which means I have succeeded in my mission and unlocked Soul of Stone for my Slann. Then during my magic phase, that green die in the middle of his 2 units is a comet that I've put down. And I forgot to take a picture of it, but this unit of skinks with Mapikaju came over here. They open fire on the Doomfires, kill 2 of them, but he does not panic. Also during shooting, the Great Bow kills 1 or 2 of the Dark Shards there, but then my Salamander opens up on it, gets a couple wounds off on them, they panic and start running for the board. The other Salamander tries to go after the Witch Elves. He misfires, eats all 3 of his handlers, but succeeds his monster reaction roll. So we go into Dark Elf turn 2. The Dark Shards fail to rally and continue running for the edge of the board. And then realizing that I am in no way going to come to him, the Dark Elves start trying to move up so they've got easy charges next turn and to get out of the area of the comet. And the Brolock's turn to stare at my skinks. So I stop my opponent's magic, so we go into my turn. Basically on this side, I'm not charging anything, so I just arrange some good shots. I've got that the giant bow going down the line of his spearmen, and I've got 2 good shots with the salamanders at those units too. And my skinks step up just a little bit here in the center, so they are exactly 12 inches from the Witch Elves, so they can start hucking javelins and hopefully thin down that unit. And then over here, Gorokoth comes and hides behind the building. He's eventually going to want to join up with that larger skink unit. And my chameleon skinks come off the hill and go towards that building to try and loot it once I get inside next turn. So during magic, the comet comes down, but I roll a 2 on the distance, so it doesn't reach either of his units, so that was a waste. So we go into shooting, my skinks open up on the Doomfires again, I kill 2 more of them, but again he doesn't panic. And this is actually after movement on Skip's turn, but I just absolutely opened up with the Witch Elves. I killed half of them with Salamanders and shooting, and then he declares a charge on me next turn. I shoot them again, so there's like 2 Witch Elves and his character left. And then he declares a charge on the same unit with his his spears, and I flee from that. So he redirects into the Salamander. I also flee with the Salamander, so he fails both charges and ends up where you see him there. And then after those charges, his Dark Shards fail to rally for the second time and run off the board. Then my comet that I planted last turn goes off, finishes off his Witch Elf unit with the character in it, and does a handful of wounds to the Spearman unit. During the magic phase, he gets Doombolt off on my skink unit, kills all but 1 of the skinks, and we hold. I think because we have the auto succeed leadership on it from the River of Light, but... So we go into my turn 3, I figure it's time to clean this up. Stegodon charges into the flank of his spearmen, And yeah, that's pretty much a foregone conclusion right there. And then I move my my skink and Mapikaju a little bit over so that I can be within range to throw Curse of the Midnight Wind on his spearman. And I turn the salamander around because I want the points for the Doomfires. And he stops my Curse of the Midnight Wind, but in shooting between the skinks and I think it was the salamander that actually did it, Doomfires die. Then over here, I killed 5 of the spearmen just on impact hits. I didn't do anything with any of my attacks. He didn't do anything back to me with his hero, which was the only one left touching after the impact hits. And then I thunder stomped 3 more of them, so only the hero was left. He failed his double ones, and I ran him down. Mapikaju performed the ritual to connect himself to Lord Tenok. The Slann must be made aware of the increasing attacks on the Lizardman Camp. The skink priest felt the presence of his master, and in seconds the Slann knew of what had occurred. Our work cannot be interrupted, Mapikaju, the Slann's thoughts commanded. The Warmbloods do not know that they act against prophecy. The image of the ruins of a small keep city in the mountains flashed in the skink priest's mind. This place is a nexus of the geomantic web. It is also defensible, as the Warmbloods reckon such things. Remove your camp to this place and cleanse the site. Once you have done so, I shall send more reinforcements. Yes, great Lord Tenok, the skink priest replied. Your will be done. Okay, so this one was a pretty obvious win for the Lizardmen. My result for the winning roll was that I doubled the amount of gold that I got, and so the Chameleon Skinks got 10, so I ended up with 20 gold pieces. And because I succeeded my mission, I received the Soul of Stone upgrade for the Slann. And so the Dark Elves lost, so the next time the Dark Elves play the Lizardmen, the entire Lizardman army will cause fear to them. He also failed his mission, so the Dark Elves do not unlock the Lore of Shadow as of yet. So, I definitely thought this was a very different game. It's pretty obvious that my opponent built his list expecting me to drop the big brick of Saurus and just charge straight for his face. The terrain rolls obviously very much benefited me here, with the exception of the fact that it was a River of Light and blasted one unit of skinks out of the way. It definitely was going to make it harder for my opponent to come get me, which let me play the ranged game I needed to play to take this one. I definitely think that the Salamanders are freaking amazing against Elves. Just being able to blanket fire breathe all over them, very, very good. I thought it was very unfortunate for my opponent that the one time he could have used a reroll on a leadership when he actually brought his BSB, the BSB ended up being too far away from the unit to help. So he lost the Dark Shards basically because of that. I also think that this was one of those situations that Skip didn't really know what the true threats were. And I think that's actually pretty common for the Lizardmen because they have such big monsters that draw attention. That's where his attention went, when really he should have been focusing on getting rid of the skink units because they really die to a stiff breeze. And even if he had gotten the Doomfires over there, he could have charged that skink unit instead of trying to hang back and magic them, and probably would have killed that unit and got my wizard, and then would have been all in my backfield to cause trouble. But we kind of talked about that at the end of the game, but I think right now Skip is very down on the Dark Elves. I would not be surprised if he ends up making a substitution for a different army in the narrative from this point forward, but we'll have to see how that goes. I know he said he was planning on doing another one of his videos to kind of discuss the issue and respond to this game, so we'll see if he ends up doing that. But that brings another one to a close. Hope you guys enjoyed watching what may very well be my shortest battle report ever. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. But other than that, we'll catch you next time, and thanks for watching.